Welcome to episode 15 of Movie Therapy.
Hi, everybody.
Been like 2 weeks since we did one of these.
Yeah. FauxPop Media, they're very busy.
They're very busy people, and so finally things calmed down so we could do the show again. So that means next week, Tea Party will also come out if you're missing that. So yeah.
Plug in your other shows on this show.
Yeah, I mean that's what the show's gonna become, me plugging stuff.
Yeah.
So this week, this is actually one of my favorite sports movies.
Oh, is it?
And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you know, what about Rocky and stuff like that. I like this more than Rocky.
Yeah. And we've done a Scorsese movie already too.
Scorsese.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, it fits in with that.
Why'd you say it like that?
It's you know who Jack Black is?
Sure. He
made a video and in it he was talking about Scorsese and he's like Scorsese. Ah. Yeah, it's a reference to that. Anyway.
Don't do that.
So this is
Jack Black is not a good actor.
Jack Black. I like Tenacious D, not the movie.
Yeah. The band is amazing. Yes.
Scoot you a little more over this way. Wait a second. We're gonna focus. This is behind the scenes a little bit. Actually, wait. No, wrong way.
You're part of the show.
Come. Okay, there we go.
There's so much table over here.
Yeah, there is none over here.
So
yeah, this is one of my favorite movies. It has Robert De Niro in it again.
Again, same director.
Yeah, same director, same actor. Again, as much as I liked Cape Fear, I like this one more.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's do Raging Bull. So Raging Bull is 1981. 80. Okay, I was thinking 80, but I thought 81. I don't know why. And it was obviously directed by Martin Scorsese. It's black and white, but funniest thing is, the reason I know the date, like close to the date, I knew it's from the 80s, is because a lot of times I'll try to get people to watch this movie, and they'll look at it and go, oh, it's black and white. I'm like, no, it's a style. It's from the 80s. Yeah. Because I'm like, no, it's like Schindler's List. You know how that was black and white for the style? Yeah. Like that's the only connection to Schindler's List. If you're watching this to find concentration camps, you are wrong. But yeah, it's a great movie about a boxer. What's it? He's
Jake LaMotta.
Jake LaMotta.
Real boxer. It's a real true based on true events. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was based on true events.
Oh yeah, the whole the movie, the script is actually based on the book that Jake LaMotta wrote. Oh. And the reason it's filmed in black and white is because Scorsese didn't like the contrast of colors, and he didn't want to show so much blood. So, I mean, they used Hershey's syrup, just like the old horror movies and stuff.
Like Psycho?
Yeah, exactly. To give it a different feel, and also distance from another very successful boxing movie. I think there was something like 8 boxing movies planned for the 80s.
That's aggressive.
Between 78 and 84 or whatever, and Rocky was huge then too. Yeah. So he wanted to differentiate between that. And he also, it was at Scorsese's lowest point in his life as well. He was struggling from a coke addiction, and Robert De Niro gave him the book that Jake LaMotta wrote and said that you have to do this movie. You have to recover from this because you have to do this movie. And Scorsese was like, I don't know if I want to do a sports movie. It's not my thing. Yeah. But eventually, Robert De Niro, and we've said it in another podcast of how scary De Niro is.
Yeah, he's a scary motherfucker.
But he definitely convinced Scorsese to do this movie, and thus saving his life. And this was actually going to be Scorsese's last movie. Like he figured he'd ran the gamut on what he can do as a director. So. Obviously, he didn't stop there.
No, he
hasn't
didn't.
Stopped yet. So
he's made some great films. We talk about Tarantino a lot, and Martin Scorsese definitely does some different films from it. But Martin Scorsese, in my eyes, is on the same greatness scale. Like,
oh, indeed, he's a classic director.
Classic director, has made both of them make criminal Moorish movies. Immediately when I think of Martin Scorsese, I think of Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Wolf of Wall Street, which is a new one. Yeah. Which, as soon as that came out, and even to 2 years after, people wouldn't shut up at that movie. It was everywhere, and it's friggin' long as hell.
Casino's another one that's he's renowned for as well. And all those movies depict Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci together, and they're no exception in this movie. This is the first movie together, I believe.
Oh, really?
Well, simply because of the stuff that I read on the trivia about it is that Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro actually lived and trained together, and they became very friendly. So, I mean, being friends, of course, they're going to cast them in movies. And Scorsese likes using the same actors.
Yes, very much.
Like he uses DiCaprio nowadays in where he used to use De Niro as much, too. So, and the thing is also Scorsese's only won one Oscar as a director.
What, Hitchcock? Hitchcock won none?
Sorry?
Hitchcock won none?
Yeah, well, you know, it's arbitrary to say what Hitchcock, he achieved things that were probably not Oscar. There weren't categories for those kinds of things. Yeah. But De Niro actually won the Oscar for Best Actor in this movie. I looked up the other movies that he was up against, and there was some pretty stiff competition. I can't remember exactly what movies it was, but actually there's a YouTube video of him accepting the award, and he's so young. But even then, like his dedication, we talked about this in Cape Fear, his dedication to bulk up for the role and even bulk down. There was actually some points where Scorsese shut down production because it was alarming how much weight Robert De Niro was earning. And at the end of the movie, like they fast forward into what he's doing now, and he's gained a lot more weight. It would probably freak you out a little bit gaining that much weight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like milkshakes before bed. And
Well, when I first watched this movie, so it opens with De Niro's character doing a speech kind of in his dressing room to get ready for, he's doing a show, I think, right? A stage show.
Well, yeah, well, he owns a nightclub.
Yeah.
So he's basically making a speech or whatever.
Yeah.
Which you don't really know exactly what's going on, but it's a great way to start a movie.
And like when I first saw that, I immediately thought that it was the Ring guy, and I didn't think it was De Niro.
Oh yeah.
And at the very end, I was like, oh,
there's where
that. Okay, that's why. I was like, I didn't get why you didn't see that character at the very end. It turns out you saw him the whole time. A little sneaky little thing. Yeah. But so yeah, I showed this to my brother the other week. Because he's a big fan of Cinderella Man. Have you seen that? No. Cinderella Man's another boxing movie. Yeah. It's about a poverty-ridden boxer that tries to make money for his family, see the heartache and stuff like that. But when I first showed it to them, I was very tempted to say, oh, you know, you liked Cinderella Man, you like this. But then also I was like, well, other than the time period and the fact that it's a boxing movie, they don't share anything alike. Cinderella Man's, the whole point is to show, like, put your heart into it. Yeah. And this movie has none of that. This is one of the worst people that I have seen in a movie. Yeah. Like no point was I like, this is a good guy.
You saw this you had always had in your head, right? I mean, I hadn't seen it. This is probably one of the movies that should have been on my bucket list if I ever made such a thing.
You're getting old, you probably should.
Well, you know, yeah. But like, you know, there's classic movies, and I've heard of Raging Bull. It's not like it was when you told me, I wasn't like, I have to figure out who's in it. I knew who directed it. I knew who was in it. I knew that it was in black and white. Yeah. Without ever having seen anything. I talked to the hobo I watch movies with, and he was telling me that, you know, he doesn't think it's that classic of a movie. But you know, everyone has their opinions, and we can just leave them where they lie. But I obviously was super into this idea of watching a movie in black and white, seeing what it was all about. But I found it hard to be sympathetic for the character because he's such an asshole.
Oh, like, yeah, he's an asshole.
His self-destructiveness and his, you know, like I'm glad to know that this was a true story, so they're telling the story. I mean, if they had written this character, I would have been like, why did they make him such a terrible person? Like, he thinks everyone that looks at his wife is going to, you know, go after her. And you know, he doesn't trust her, and he doesn't trust his brother, and he doesn't trust anybody around him. And it's just, it was really nerving. I mean, obviously Scorsese painted that picture for you, and you feel that when you're watching the movie. It just irks you that you just know that anytime he glances away from his woman, which they absolutely set up that scene perfectly when he's already married, yes.
Yeah.
But he finds this woman that he really wants to be with. They kind of fast stream it, but the meeting between the two of them was electric. I thought, I think you and I differ on romance in movies, but maybe that's my age as well. But they did it really well, and I found through the trivia of it is it was unscripted, basically. Scorsese just put the two actors together, met them at a chain link fence, and they just went with it. And like you almost fall in love with her as you're watching the movie. Do you get any of that, or maybe you don't get there? As far as
I like
just you get their attraction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like you know that this guy's going to leave his wife to go after this girl that he met.
Yeah.
They go on an awkward kind of date, and
the whole scene where he's gonna cheat on his wife in their own bed, that part was very unnerving for me.
Yeah.
And even when he's like, no, let's not. Yeah. Even that, like just how he was acting and stuff like that, it was very eerie for me. I was always like, again, it goes back to the whole, throughout this movie, at no point was I like, I like this guy. This guy's a good guy. Like, he beats his wife. He thinks, is it his best friend or his brother?
It's his brother.
I thought
Joe
so.
Pesci, his brother.
Yeah, I thought so. Like
Joey LaMotta.
When he thinks his brother slept with his wife, he goes into the family's house while they're eating dinner and beats him up. And I was like, then he smacks her, and I was sitting there, I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, honestly, I'm struck that it went that far, but the fact that character was doing it didn't strike me. It was more the fact that they showed it, and I was like, oh, wow.
The real Jake LaMotta, actually, it's the first thing in the trivia track on IMDb here, is when the real Jake LaMotta saw the movie, he saw how it made him realize for the first time what a terrible person he was.
Oh, yeah, I can see.
And then he asked the real Vicky LaMotta, his wife, was I really like that? She said, you were worse.
Oh, God.
So, like, I mean, to have a real life story actually put on film and it affects your real life, and you see
it and you go, oh my God, I'm an ass.
Doing. One of the producers actually said that the character Jake LaMotta is a cockroach, and they actually, it's uncredited, but De Niro and Scorsese took a vacation and they rewrote the whole script to find some sympatheticness to the character so that you could actually feel for the character, right? So like, I knew this movie was a classic, and to find out that they put so much effort into this, like there's heart and soul into a movie. And I think since we started doing these podcasts and talking about real movies like this, it's kind of hard watching new movies. Oh yeah, because there's the heart and soul and the hungriness of a filmmaker, and really putting like a big character like Jake LaMotta to the screen. You can't fake that. And I find that a lot of movies that I've been watching lately, you know, like just those dumb movies you watch on Netflix and things, you don't get the compassion for the filmmaking that they did on this one.
After I dropped this off, because I own it on Blu-ray, so I watched it, and then I handed it over to you. And then me and my dad went to go see the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah. It's difficult with all that CGI.
we were sitting there afterwards. My dad's like, oh, you know, it wasn't that bad of a movie. He's like, you know, it wasn't bad. I liked it. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, it was terrible. This and this and this and this and this. And my dad's like, well, it's a modern movie, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. That we go, oh, you know, it's a newer one. Because like watching it, I was like, oh, they're overacting. It's terrible. There's no heart in it. Why don't they just calm down for a second? It's like, oh no, sorry, I'm still thinking of the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
It's strange though, like how far film has come, and that's one thing you really get to see when, obviously, like from seeing this show, you might have this too. I don't know, as it might just be because we're on the show. Yeah. The one thing I do realize is because after doing the show, everything I go see, I judge, and I'm kind of scared. Like I've been excited to go see Baby Driver. I'm really scared to go see it because I'm worried I'm gonna be like, I'm critical now.
Well, I think Edgar Wright's an exception to most of the
rules. He's a great director.
The most recent movie that I saw in the theater was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it was right after we did the podcast of Grindhouse. Yeah. So you see the rawness of a Grindhouse movie, and like, sure, Robert Rodriguez did a lot of CGI in his movie too, but it was done, sparingly and kind of satirically.
Yeah.
Like, it's not exactly to take away from any of the rawness of the movie.
Yeah.
And then right after we did those 2 podcasts, I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and not a damn thing on the screen is real.
Oh yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, a couple of actors are walking through a green screen pretty much the whole time, and it's like, I'm sure this movie's great, but like when we're dissecting movies as much as we do, it's really hard to watch something like that and have a real objective opinion. So, I mean, I'm seeing where you're coming from, watching new movies and stuff, and I end up watching movies on Netflix. I've been more into like, we're not even talking about Raging Bull anymore.
Oh yeah, we're kind of.
That's why it's a podcast. We can talk whatever we want.
Yeah.
But I've been watching some like. Dare I say romantic comedies, but like they're not really, how romantic comedies aren't what they used to be either. Yeah. It's not like a cheesy movie anymore. It's kind of made for, like a date night. Like there's stuff in there for the girls, there's stuff in there for the guys. You both go, you get the same stupid message at the end of the movie, but throughout they start fighting all the stereotypes that you see in movies. And I feel like a lot of movies these days should be trying to do that, doing something different. Like, just, you think they're going to go right, then they go left.
Like, the whole movie I was waiting for, and I feel like I'm beating a dead bird now. I was waiting for a redeeming thing. I was waiting for all of a sudden one moment, like, for him to look in the mirror and also say, oh, I'm an ass. And like, the Scrooge moment of, it's not too late.
You're back on Raging Bull then?
Yeah.
Well, Ty brought us back to the subject.
Weirdly
First time
enough.
ever. Is there a gold medal in the studio somewhere? But no, you're right. You keep waiting for him to look in the mirror and go,
I'm an ass.
holy shit, I am a friggin' asshole.
And beat himself up. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, the credits are rolling.
Yeah.
But
and I'm not saying that you should ever treat a woman the way he treated a woman. I'm definitely saying that. I was raised by my mother, and I respect women. By all means, but I mean, if you're married to Jake LaMotta, the most jealous boxer, adrenaline junkie, maybe don't go around kissing all his friends on the lips. Like,
yeah,
it's just adding fuel to the fire.
I think the solution there is to not marry that man.
Yeah.
At one point,
it didn't really seem like she had much of a choice. Like, he chose her. She chose him. She wanted to support him. I guess in those days it was different days. Man chooses woman.
Man chooses woman. Man beats woman. They get married, have kids. Yeah. It's the circle of life.
They have awkward moments on the bed, and he pours ice down his pants.
Yeah.
That was different from what they were going to do.
What were they going to do?
The producer was going to have him stick his whole junk into ice. But the producer admitted also that he wasn't trying to make a character this way or that way. He was really just seeing what he could get past the studio. So, I mean, and there's another scene where when he's in the prison, and I guess they had like a masturbation scene or whatever. He was just trying to like get back to what, trying to, figure everything out. They took that scene out, which I think was good. Yeah. Because what they did in that prison was like had him smashing his head against the wall, and he's realizing, I guess that's his moment where he's realizing that he is kind of a dickhead. Yeah. But it's, it's a great scene, and he's really smashing his head against a real concrete wall. It wasn't some foam piece that you'd have actors today. De Niro, he lived by the sword for his career. Like he went through, he gained the weight, he went through a bunch of boxing matches. He actually boxed the real Jake LaMotta. Oh, right. And Jake actually said that he could probably, survive in the circuit of boxing if he decided to do such a thing. And De Niro took on, I think he had 3 actual boxing matches, and he won 2 of them. So
yeah, that's really good.
Are actors doing that these days? Maybe some of the crazier.
No, now they're just eating raw meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I really want to get your opinion on about this movie, and so we went over before that. Despite our age, I watch all the Hitchcock movies. Like, I'm a huge fan of the 60s and before movies. So the very beginning of this movie, the credits the credits, like the opening credits, have first of all, you don't see opening credits where it's a bunch of text and that switches like the very plain text in your movies. It always has to be like, Deadpool comes to mind, where it's just one little line and it's like very like entertaining and stuff like that.
Yep.
Or back in the old days, they were just like, here's text. There you go. That's all we can do.
Here's who's in the movie. Here's who directed it. Watch the movie.
Now shut up and watch the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie, especially because when I think of the 80s, I think of really when they started doing just the one little line and move on.
Yep.
And I keep doing that. Where this movie is like the old ones, where at the very beginning, it has a very wide shot through ropes of De Niro getting ready to fight, and then it has the block. I'm just gonna say block text, which is very reminiscent of older movies.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know. I'm like, where for me, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I remember that stuff, which is weird because I'm only 17.
Yeah, I pay attention to that stuff too. Yeah.
Did you? What did you think with that? Like, I know I showed it to one person and they're like, oh god, it's taking forever. I'm like, well, that's the point.
Yeah, I like that that a movie like this it presents you as it's a movie. Here's what the movie is. Here's you don't need a crawl. You don't need a bunch of here like punching the words or something. I think that's what today's society is. They need to keep you excited for every moment. That's why the titles at the start of the movie are like practical mini movies every time too, right? Like you're going for an entertainment thing. But no, I like it's classic, and you're watching a movie. You ever been like cruising through channels on a Sunday or something, and it just happens to be like 3 o'clock on the dot, and the movie's just starting, and you see the main screen start. You ever see that? And then you're like, well, I'm gonna stick around and see what movie this is. See if I can guess before the movie title actually comes up. You ever do that?
See, I did something kind of like that when I was really young, like a 10. I used to watch Family Channel, which every Friday night they would put on movies. And even then, when I was a huge movie lover, I hated this because they weren't good movies. They were like the crappy kid movies. Anyway, one thing I always tried to do was if I got in before the title would come up, I would do what you do, trying to guess what movie it was. But also one thing I'd do is I didn't really have the internet. Like I had it, but I didn't really use it.
Yep.
So I would sit there and watch the movie, and I would just try to guess what its title is. And because I'd usually find at the very end, or at least at some point, they'd have a commercial break and they'd be like, okay, back to this movie. I would try to spend that time guessing what movie it was. And if I didn't know the movie, I'd try to figure out what the title should be. I'd be like, they had this and this and this. Yeah. So it's going to be this movie. I hated those movies. I never really watched them because I wanted to watch them. It was just kind of me going.
Yeah. I've always been good with trivia. And I'll pay attention to a movie when it comes out and not know anything about it and maybe never have seen the movie. But you make the connection of the director, the actors in it, the premise of the movie, So I always try and guess. But like 9 times out of 10, if I turn the TV on and there's a movie on that maybe I own in my collection, I'll still watch it on TV until the first commercial break, and then I'll decide, well, I'm just going to throw the DVD in and not watch any commercials. Or, if it's 3 p.m, there's not going to be any swearing in it. So you want to see the movie for the rawness of it is.
Yeah.
And, Raging Bull wasn't a movie that was on TV very often.
No, I think, and this is kind of, this is a side thing, but it also has to do with this movie. When you mentioned, because you just mentioned the whole TV, if someone came up to me and said, hey, I'm giving you a TV station, just do whatever you want with it. I think, obviously, it'd be bad movies because that's the only thing I have in my life. My whole thing would be trying to show movies like this where they're great and people don't give them a shot because they're considered just for film buffs. Like this movie, you wouldn't see a guy that's a big fan of Transformers walking up to you and like, oh man, have you seen Raging Bull?
Yeah, I just saw a Transformers movie.
They'd be like, what the hell is that? And then you'd show them the cover, like, oh man, that's black and white. F that. And it's like, no. So I think...
I don't have any friends like that.
All right? I'm in high school.
Yeah, I know.
You know what high school is?
Yeah.
It's all those people.
Yeah.
Imagine all those people take away any knowledge they have
Yeah.
and shove them in the building.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what high school is.
Exactly. You know, but you do have a lot of things in your generation that we didn't have, like the internet.
Yeah, now we use the internet like crazy.
It was something a lot simpler. I mean, Raging Bull when it came out. I mean, I was 2 when it came out, so it wasn't like a movie that came across. My parents didn't watch a movie like this.
Your parents are like, "Hey, you want to see a wife get beaten up? Let's watch Raging Bull."
Yeah. Again, you're focusing on the most negative part of the movie.
That's my life is negative.
The classic, you know, boxing movie. Like, boxing movies are exciting. People love them. That's why they keep making them. You know, and if it's a true story, all the better. You know, like there's so many, and we've covered a couple of movies that have prominent boxing scenes in them. Escape from New York had them in a. They weren't boxing, but they were in a boxing ring. Snatch had a bare knuckle boxing in it. You know, you talk about Fight Club a lot. There's a lot of that in there. Yeah. People love to see that kind of like man on man fight. You know, like it's awesome. I think the guys in your Tea Party podcast would probably love a movie like this.
Oh yeah,
know? Like.
Sorry, I can't.
No, sure, go ahead.
And the one thing I gotta say, and if I was making a big budget movie and someone said, well, it has to be a sports movie, I'd do boxing, because where if you do a football movie, Americans are going to watch it, but a lot of Canadians are going to be like, I'm not really into that. If you make a hockey movie, unless it has to do with an American team, no American's going to watch it. It's going to be a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
So but for boxing, when it was popular, it was kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
And then it died off, and at the moment, no one really goes, it's for sure from that. Actually, strangely enough, most of the time when I think of boxing, because of Rocky and this movie and stuff like that, I think of Italians. And I don't know why. Like, because it wasn't like, to me, if someone said Italian, I wouldn't think boxing. But if someone said boxing, I'd think Italian stallion. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
So
well,
there would be a
I
little
think
bit of that.
That's the Rocky influence that you have too, right? I mean, he's Italian and all that, and but you know, like it's a great genre and done well, like this movie, or like Rocky, like those movies are done well.
Yeah.
One of the differences is though that Scorsese had the camera inside the ring, where Rocky didn't have that, and a lot of boxing movies don't do that. They take the camera angles from 3 different angles. Scorsese had one, like as if it was a third boxer in the ring. Yeah. It's definitely. I think the thing is I watched the movie and then we didn't have the time to do it last week, the podcast. So I mean, it wasn't so fresh in my memory, but obviously I read a bunch of the trivia after, and there's some things that I'm just like I didn't notice. Like I guess there's a throwback scene that was in color.
There was?
Do you recall that?
No,
like
I don't
a home
remember.
video or something?
I don't remember any scene with Kelly.
Yeah. Anyways, there's one scene with maybe it's at the start of the movie. I can't 100% nail it down as to what it was, but there was a little bit of a color scene, and they scratched that up to make it look older than it needed to be and all that. But
did the grindhouse effect?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
So
I don't know where I was going with
that. So this is our second sports movie.
Yeah, we did Goon.
Which this is no offense to anyone who is a big fan of Goon, but this movie I definitely say was better.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In shooting wise, story wise, and
the all out acting, like it was.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Like De Niro's. He's a raging bull.
Yeah, and for me, if you're a Martin Scorsese fan, if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, you know, I heard of this guy called Martin Scorsese. I don't know what he's really about," and they said, "Well, can you give me a movie to understand what he's about?" I'm like, I can't give you one. I can give you 2 though.
Yeah.
I have like Raging Bull and Goodfellas.
And Goodfellas, yeah.
I'm like, those are the 2. I'm like, yeah. Later on, you can watch, you know, Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. I'm like, but these are the 2 you need to see.
Yeah, I didn't feel Wolf of Wall Street the way I felt other movies that he did.
Yeah, no, it wasn't my favorite of it.
You know, like,
it was really. Just
It was good. It was done in Scorsese's style. I'm just looking up his filmography to really class and put in perspective as to how many movies he's actually taken care of. I love Departed. It's one of my favorites, and that's the one he won the Oscar for. It's a movie that if it comes on, no matter where I start watching it, I'm going to watch the rest of it if I've got the time. He did a whole bunch of.
He made Hugo?
Yeah, he made Hugo. He was big part of the TV series Boardwalk Empire, which is very mob.
Of course, it's mob.
Yeah, when it first came out, I thought it would be a great movie, but it kind of dwindled, and I stopped watching it. Shutter Island was a pretty good one, based on another book. The Aviator. But he did a lot of music videos and stuff. He did stuff for the Rolling Stones. He did stuff for George Harrison. Did stuff for, did I already say Michael Jackson?
No, you did not say art. You did not already say Michael Jackson.
I see. I'm looking at Bringing Out the Dead. I didn't even know he directed that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I've not.
It was a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not watching that shit. Anyway, so what would be the rating you'd give this movie?
We're at ratings part already, eh? He directed Michael Jackson's Bad video.
Really?
Totally makes sense.
True.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of any props in the movie that I could rate with. You're probably going to use boxing gloves, right?
No, that's not what I was going to do.
I'm going to go 7 drops of blood off of the ring out of 10. 7.5.
I'm gonna make a joke, and I just want to apologize right now, just in case it's in bad. Well, I know it's in bad taste. I'm gonna say 6.5 beaten wives out of 10.
Oh, terrible.
I already apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit. Not PC, as some may say.
The opinions expressed are not those of FauxPop Media.
Yes.
Or Derrick Wise. Strictly Ty Mellor.
That's me. Okay. I was gonna say my hair is kind of wacky, and you're kind of mean.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway,
at least I didn't beat any women.
I have not beaten any women.
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet. That's aggressive.
Okay, yeah, we should really lean towards that. I mean, lean away from that.
Yeah, we should really lean into that.
Okay, so for the next 10 minutes, we're just going to fight.
Then there's this fight?
All right. Ready?
I'll call my lawyer, motherfucker. Bring it. I'll be sitting there like this, but like, just go for it.
Do you think I'd kill you?
No, you could hurt me.
I'm not tough, no. No, I'm soft. Soft as shite.
Who do you think would win in a fight? You.
Well, I would, just because I weigh twice as much as you do, so.
That, and I've never fought in my life.
No? Never had a fight?
I used to
You have brothers, right?
Yeah. No, that was just me getting the shit kicked out of me. I have a brother.
So you're the little brother, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the big brother, so.
I used to practice boxing.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that.
You ever boxed at all, ever?
I have once.
Like, the hockey helmets and the...
Oh, buckets. Oh, I play buckets.
Like that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've done that before, too.
Buckets is fun.
Yeah,
That's our Canadian.
I actually have a twin brother, and they pitted us against each other once. It was not good.
Funny little story. My buddy, I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to say Joe. And another one of my buddies, I'm going to call him Joe 2.0.
Joe 2.0?
Joe 2.0 picked up Joe, Joe is a big guy. Like, he's a hockey player, like a really, he's a goon.
Built dude.
He picked him up and threw him into a closet door and broke the closet door.
Yeah.
And I went, I don't think you guys were playing right, but good on you. So,
That's more like wrestling.
Yeah, that's just full-on wrestling. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this movie.
I did too.
And honestly, if we had all the time in the world, I think I could probably talk about it forever. But yeah, it's a great movie that I suggest anyone to watch. Yep. If you got free time. It's not on Netflix, surprisingly. Usually when we pick a movie, it goes up on Netflix.
Next week, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Next week.
With your pick.
Yep.
So have fun. See you.
All right. Thanks, Arnold.